Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sexy time is here. That's right, we're talking The Seduction 1982 on Kill by Kill Silk Stockings Unit. Or is it Kill by Kill Nights?
I just like Kill by Kill After Dark.
Kill by Kill After Dark. They all apply. Welcome to our Patreon-only feed of Kill by Kill, everybody. It's your old pal Patrick Hamilton. I'm coming to you once again from the rocky hillsides of Pacific Palisades / Malibu, because those two houses are not next to one another. It's Kill by Kill, and of course, there's only one person I trust, that if I get flowers from an admirer that I know to be my stalker, she won't go, well, you know, all great love stories start that way, like a fucking asshole. The one, the only Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
I'm good. I've got my smoking jacket on. I hope that you have your finest silk teddy. We got that saxophone music playing.
This the strong point of this movie is not the music. I'll put it. I don't like her theme. I don't like the music box theme. I don't like any music in this movie.
No, and one of my favorite things about 80s movies like this is that its theme song is some sort of kind of weirdly straightforward romantic song.
Yeah.
In a movie that is not romantic in the slightest.
Everything suddenly has a sheen of there's got to be a morning after, which is not okay.
No, not the slightest.
This is not a romance, everybody. And yet the original title for this script was The Romance.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not romantic. It's not a seduction.
No, it is not. I would quiz anyone to denote where the seduction in this movie happens. It is not very seducing at all.
Yeah, I mean, they could have called it The Fan, but The Fan was already taken by one of the greatest movies of all time, just releasing a year earlier.
It is interesting to put them sort of back to back, because I think you have very intense performances, and you swap out Broadway musical rehearsals for watching someone record a news broadcast, and you pretty much have a lot of the same movie, but I feel like The Fan moves things forward a little bit faster.
Well, I'll tell you two things and we've talked recently about movies we don't always see eye to eye on,
Sure.
which is we're not many. We're very much almost frighteningly on the same page with a lot of things.
It is a little odd, yeah.
But if you like Galaxy of Terror considerably more than I do, I like The Fan considerably more than you do, and yeah. I think that two things that certainly in comparison to The Seduction, which is straight garbaggio, or any way you slice it, is at no point is Laura Bacall ever exploited. And that's a problem with stalker movies in general. And I don't think it's necessarily just reserved to movies in which it's a man stalking a woman. I think when the genders are swapped, as rare as that is, you still get a whole, they're watching him in the shower, or they're spying him undressing, and the camera kind of lingers a little bit, and it's the stalker's point of view. Yeah, but you're showing this person naked and vulnerable, and that's. That was never, I mean, she is, depicted as sort of helpless in her situation, but not like, meant to be in a, tawdry sort of way.
Right.
And also, people actually take her seriously in The Fan, whereas in The Seduction, if you started a drinking game for every time someone tries to minimize her concerns, you would be in a coma. You would be you would be dead of alcohol poisoning by about 45 minutes in, because absolutely no one takes her seriously.
No, it's almost as if, in fact, there's an entire monologue at one point, which Vince Edwards, earning a paycheck for his 2 days of work, gives this very lengthy, almost network-esque, you have meddled in the laws of man and gods type speech. about how there's nothing you can do, and a cop, the cops can't help you, and every institution is destroyed, and that's why we're in the middle of this Cobra-esque crime wave, which also we were not in the middle of a Cobra-esque crime wave.
Right. You didn't have so much crime going on that when people called the police, they're put on hold.
No. I, having lived in Los Angeles, I don't believe we had a police answering machine that didn't take messages.
I mean, the police detective, Vincent Edwards' character, his entire attitude up until the last 10 minutes of the movie or so is, well, we really can't do anything until he's murdered you.
Yeah. Yeah. And, call me when he murders you.
Just like the psychologist that Morgan Fairchild's boyfriend consults, her attitude is, well, you have to let him do whatever he wants or else he might kill her. Oh, yeah, okay. Really? You just kind of have to, it's his show. You got to do what he says or he might get violent. Even though he has already gotten violent.
Yeah. Violence has occurred already. Oh, boy. This movie. I mean, it is an interesting.
Did we actually say what the movie's called?
Yeah, right at the top. It's The Seduction. Okay. It's The Seduction starring Morgan Fairchild and special guest star Morgan Fairchild's nips.
Yes, and Andrew Stevens just again pouring sweat, so much sweat,
so much. It just lives in his brows. I mean, I can't. At some point, I suppose we'll have to talk about the Fury on the show in one way or the other. Because I can't look at Andrew Stevens and not think about the Fury.
Well, the thing is with Andrew Stevens is Andrew Stevens is sort of like Henry Cavill today, Cable, how do you pronounce his last name? Mm-hmm. Where, casting decisions for the movies he's in come down to, well, he's a handsome fellow. And that's it. Acting talent, the experience, he's handsome, put him in the movie.
I would love if Andrew Stevens walked into one of these scenes and cocked his guns like Cavill does in that Mission Impossible movie.
That's like the only thing I've enjoyed him in.
He's very good. He's a very good slime ball in that. And Andrew Stevens vacillated between being an on-screen slime ball or some sort of straight arrow. Like in 10 to Midnight, he's the straight arrow.
That's right. He is in that, isn't he? I completely forgot.
Like he filmed this 10 to Midnight, The Fury, like back, like in a very intense period of time. And then from this sort of moment on, he got caught in a sort of loop of erotic thrillers.
Yeah. He played a lot of radio psychologists.
Yeah.
who get into twisted affairs with one of his callers who may or may not be a murderer.
You just happen to be house sitting in the wrong house and he sees you through the window and it's all over. Or he's the person who, like, Shannon Tweed's in trouble and she consults Andrew Stevens. Like he's either on one side or the other of this erotic thriller relationship. I don't know that he was meant for more than that either.
Well, like I said, he's a good looking chap, and that is all I can really say for Andrew Stevens. He's got very nice haircut. He's got very nice hair. I was gonna say it's a little nicely feathered. He looks like a Hardy Boy.
But he looks like the third Hardy Boy. He looks like the one who's
he looks like the Hardy Boy who doesn't have any skills of deduction.
No, he doesn't. He can't solve a crime. He might commit a crime.
Oh yeah, he commits lots of crimes that nobody seems to think are crimes.
Like just breaking and entering into someone's home is not cool. You would just send him to fucking jail. There's no.
Well, if you put him in jail, he's just going to get out. Well, yeah, eventually. That is how the prison system works.
Yeah, that's why are we giving up on laws? Like just because he's going to get out, saying, I guess all laws are off.
That's like saying, well, I'm not going to go on a diet. So I'm just going to put all the weight back on.
Oh boy. The other male figure in this movie is Michael Sheridan, who had quite a moment in the late 60s and early 70s and has gone to seed in a way in this movie. I don't know.
He's slumming it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he is wearing the most textured of brown coats throughout it and a black turtleneck. He just seems like he's in a different movie, or he's been making different kinds of movies. And he's just like, his agent said, oh shit, if you want to be able to afford your house, you got to be in the Seduction. Like, all right.
What a sad situation.
The way he kisses, I mean, and I don't know that this thing needs to be like a plot breakdown, because the plot is this. Morgan Fairchild is a newscaster straight out of The Howling.
Oh, yeah. That one scene is, it's a little bit Anchorman, a little bit Howling.
I have to believe part of that Anchorman scene must be.
Oh yeah. He totally go fuck yourself, San Diego'd her. I expected her to be like, she'd be like, I'm Jamie Douglas.
All I can think of is that SNL sketch, which the teleprompter goes down and the morning news crew can't deal with it, and then they eventually devolve into a tribe.
I love that sketch. I love it.
I think it is the best Saturday Night Live sketch of all time. I personally put it right up there in the canon.
I think the funniest part is how the audience reacts when he like picks up the severed head and starts like biting out of it.
Like, oh, this has gone too far.
The audience is like genuinely, oh my God.
Jesus, why would you put this on television? It's the best.
Can't read words. Where are the words?
Where are the words? Why won't they bring the words back? We're not just going to recreate an entire SNL sketch here on a podcast form. But anyways, she's a newscaster. Andrew Stevens is a local photographer of children
who somehow can afford to live right next door to her. And you said it was supposed to be Malibu?
Well, they don't really give it an exact location. Where the actual houses are is her house is in Pacific Palisades and his is in Malibu.
Right, but they're clearly meant to be living next door to each other, which nobody figures out. No. Not a single blessed person from the beginning of this movie to the end of this movie realize that he's living literally next door to her.
It is he's not covering his tracks.
One. But somehow she's never crossed paths with him before this point.
Well, I will say this, having been a person who has lived in the hills of Los Angeles, when we lived at the old place, we met about 12 people. It was just, there were no sidewalks. Like, you didn't gather anywhere. We didn't have big to-dos. It just, all of our friends lived in various places that were not within walking distance. As soon as we moved here, all of a sudden, like, people talked to us in the first 35 minutes we were here. It was a very different vibe. So hill living has its advantages in that you feel like I don't live around a lot of other people. The disadvantage is no one knows you're alive or dead.
So well, yeah, but I mean, like there's I buy that, but you're particularly near the end where the detective finally decides he's going to do something. He gets his address, gives it to her boyfriend, and the boyfriend does not recognize it as the house next door. No, this is literally this person lives on 123 Main Street and you're on 125 Main Street. And it's like, okay, hope you find him. Bye. Click.
Well, case solved.
Time to sex up the girlfriend. She's feeling better now. Case closed.
There's nothing we can do about it at this hour. Let's have sex in this hot tub. Which, no, don't have sex.
No, you absolutely do not have sex in a hot tub.
That feels like one or both of you is going to end up with something bad happening to your private parts.
Well, let's talk about the idea of something bad. So one of my favorite things about the Seduction is how you can easily telegraph what's going to happen by listening to the dialogue, and then everything that is the opposite of what they're saying is going to eventually happen. Yeah. Like, it literally opened, like Morgan Fairchild's first lines in the movie are, "I'm so happy, I have everything I want." And then later there are literally lines, "I'm not going to become violent. I'm not going to go down to his level.
We're not killers.
We're not killers." And then later, about approximately 17 seconds before he dies, the first her boyfriend says, I think we've heard the last from Loverboy. And then she's like, don't leave me. I won't. Flang, knife in the back. Like, this is masterful dialogue. It successfully predicts everything that's going to happen in advance, as long as you assume it'll be the exact opposite of that.
Yes. Don't believe what people say. Believe what they mean, which is the opposite of what they say. Their sex scene in that hot tub is one for the fucking record books. First of all, Michael Sheridan apparently went to the Roger Moore school of kissing, which is to smash your fucking lips up against somebody.
Anything as long as you don't open your mouth, because, I've got a wife. I'm not going to do this.
Yeah. Like the Lord is inside of there or something. Just, I mean, he kisses kind of like a Dick Tracy villain, Like there's something wrong with his face.
Also, apparently, the noise he makes in orgasm is also the sound someone makes when they have a knife stuck in their back. So.
Limp. And the thing is,
I'm just thinking
Morgan Fairchild does not go, oh, well, there's something wrong with you.
she's still having her blissful moment.
I mean, like 3 seconds before he dies. And granted, we don't know exactly where the sex is going to go. Her last word before she realizes he dies is please. And I think the please is, please don't finish yet. So when he does, because he done died, but she also, her reaction is the most underwhelming realization that someone whose penis was just inside of you died is like.
I think that the implication you're supposed to get from it is that she had just snapped. That's it. Yes. Like that's like, well, that's it. My mind is gone. I mean, it's hard to tell because she's not a very good actress, but I think that's, I think that's the idea that she's now, she's gone from stun to kill. Yeah.
Yeah. She's not an emoter.
No.
She has a very symmetrical face. She has an incredible skin.
Like Andrew Stevens, you could say they're very attractive people, and they're very attractive people.
I do like when she gets angry in this movie. I feel her rage there, and it's like she stops worrying about how her face looks and just gives me an emotion. But she doesn't really provide that emotion in other ways and in other locations.
She seems more annoyed than scared much of the time.
Oh, hey, another line that is the opposite of what the person means is when she tells Michael Sheridan, "I like being looked at," and then she does not like being looked at all.
Nope.
So yeah. That is opposites. The movie is what what the seduction is, even in the title. I like that Jamie Douglas gets top billing on the news broadcast. Good for her. She's battled all the way to the top in the very sexist Los Angeles newscaster game.
So is he actually the sweetheart killer, do you think? Or is that just
that's a very good question. I suppose they're trying to keep it sort of, I don't think he is, because when would he have time?
True.
He's really devoted himself to everything else.
His child photography business and his stalking.
Pardon me. I don't know about you, but when that very angry mom is trying to get Ricky to smile, all I thought was better off dead. Ricky. Ricky's
like 12, but he's just like, no, not gonna do it.
Yeah. I mean, both of them are assholes, so I think they deserve one another. But they're in a public forum. They should probably pull it together and not take it out on one another at someone else's expense.
It's probably been a good 25 to 30 years since I revisited this movie. And it's weird. It's one of those movies that just occasionally pops up in my mind. You ever heard some movie just randomly do that? And it's just like, why am I thinking about this movie that I haven't seen, since I was a teenager? And in rewatching it, I did not realize how many scenes there are just of people just driving and walking.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of padding. It's like a shitty Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where it's just like she's driving to work. Now she's driving back to her house. Now they're walking in a parking lot. Now the boyfriend's driving. Now Derek's driving.
Now they're parking in a diner.
Now they're sitting. Now he's sitting in a car and with a camera with a lens the size of a baby's forearm, and nobody notices.
Yeah, no one seems to notice this gigantic camera.
Nobody notices. He's like a ghost. He just goes in and out of her job and is following her around in a shopping mall and sneaking into her house, and no one ever notices him.
No. People do notice him at Neiman Marcus. They stare at him like all of a sudden, like his ghost is outside of his body.
Or like he just like explosively vomited all over the place. Everybody's just like, what is this?
And there's so many Southern belles behind him. I don't know what was going on at Neiman Marcus, but it was a very blousy Southern belle era for whatever reason. Everyone has the blousiest of blouses. One of my favorite news broadcast items is when they break in and they're trying to make it sound like news is being talked about here. And she says, more on that disastrous fire in Chicago later.
It's like, yes, that sounds like news.
That sounds like news. Perfect. Take two. No, we got it. Done in one. Let's go for it. Let's talk about the thing I do like in this movie, and that is Colleen Camp.
Oh my God. She's trying this, like, she thinks she's in a 40s screwball comedy.
She always thinks she's in a screwball comedy.
She's got this, like, honey, this Romeo is a heartthrob, run amok.
All that is missing is eyebrows going up and down in a
just waggling and winking. And at one point she has a line, and I actually went back because again, I had the closed captioning on, and I had to make sure I understood it, and I'm still pondering it. Mm-hmm. She asks her, and so this is about maybe a half hour in the movie, so the stalking is underway, and so she's concerned, and she asks her, "Are you okay? Did you get a facial by mail?" And I'm like, and I'm just that blinking white guy gif. I'm like. Now, I'm going to get a little raw here for a second. I don't think the facial she meant was the one that immediately came to my mind. And I'm like, well, but the other kind of facial doesn't make sense in terms of getting one by mail either.
No.
And I'm like, is that, I feel like she kind of like improvise that line. And I'm like, what is a facial by mail? She looks fine. I mean, she looks, vaguely troubled. But I mean, if she's trying to say, oh, you look like you haven't slept or she does not, because again, she's not a very good actor, and does not look, believably like she's, upset and frightened about this. She just looks a little put out.
Yeah.
But yeah, she gets some wonderful lines in this.
I mean, the best, perhaps, is what she's being shot by. It turns out to be the sleazy orderly from Friday the 13th, A New Beginning.
No, really?
Yes.
The guy gets his head twisted off?
No. The guy in the theater who she's like, I won't put my ass up on that swing.
Oh, no. I mean, like he played the guy in Friday the 13th who got his head twisted off. Or am I thinking?
Oh, yes. Oh, okay. I guess. Does he get his head twisted off? I thought he got an axe to the head.
Oh, you're right. I'm thinking of the final chapter was the orderly that got his head twisted off.
Sure. You know what? They all run together after a while.
Yes, and all orderlies are terrible in the Friday the 13th universe for some reason.
Our first responders are terrible. And I think that's the lesson that we should all learn, is that we should be afraid of them, and especially the paramedics and medical personnel. They're untrustworthy. Colleen Camps, it turns out her house is Rita Moreno's house, which explains the pillow cactus that is in her living room.
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring that up. I just, as soon as I saw the pillow cactus, he's going to mention the pillow cactus.
Oh, how can you not talk about the pillow cactus? And that's the thing, like, who on earth owns a pillow cactus? And then if the answer is, EGOT Rita Moreno. And you kind of, yeah, okay.
That makes sense.
Sure. Yeah,
That's so Rita.
I'll allow it. You know what? She's a national treasure. I might not agree necessarily with all of her design choices, but it's so individually her, and I celebrate her ability to do that. She should. I hope she has a lovely home in the Pacific Palisades still. Yeah, I don't. Calling Camp is in full ballbuster mode. It's just.
Now see here, Mac.
Hey, pal.
She's like Rosalind Russell in this grade B erotic thriller.
I don't, but she also doesn't really change that very often in anything else she has.
No, she really doesn't.
I think she's a delightful screen presence, and I like her in a lot of movies, and I think she's very unique, but her shtick has always been waka 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 every time she enters the room.
Let me tell you something, pal.
I'll tell you, boy.
You're messing with the wrong broad.
She is absolutely broad. Do you think that old lady and Butch ever found a place to poo-poo?
God, I hope so.
Not even Morgan Fairchild can keep it together during that line reading. She's just like, okay.
Good luck.
A personal confession time. Becky doesn't really enjoy it when I sit naked in front of multiple pictures of Morgan Fairchild.
Well, I mean.
She's just decided that isn't a thing that can fit into our marriage. So I have only the seduction to lean back onto to remember the good times. I would spend multiple evenings
just watching someone idly swim back and forth in her pool.
Yes. This movie opens on wet and it kind of ends wet. So full circle.
Sure.
The other thing that this movie does multiple times is have Andrew Stevens say the words, "It wasn't hard." And then at the very end of the movie, turns out
it's not.
It just doesn't happen. That doesn't do nothing.
Which is a dead ripoff of Looking for Mr. Goodbar.
Oh, I've always wanted to watch Looking for Mr. Goodbar.
Do not.
Oh, really?
It's a well-made movie, but it is the bleakest movie you will ever see in your entire life.
Cruising is bleak too, but I enjoyed that.
It is depressing.
Okay.
But yes, they're not to spoil anything, but she has a violent encounter with a man who is upset because he cannot get it up. Yeah, which explains the baby's arm length camera lens he's constantly using to take pictures of her. And I just realized that right now. Oh my God. That's a dick metaphor. I mean, there's so many in this. I mean, again, the plunging the knife into the boyfriend's back at the moment of climax, which good timing on Derek's part, let me tell you.
He's nothing if not have good timing.
And then, Morgan Fairchild chasing him around the house with a shotgun held at crotch level, which is probably not a good idea.
Like Burt Reynolds and Malone.
You've seen Malone, but you haven't seen Looking for Mr. Goodbar.
Well, Malone is more commercially available. Like Malone was shown on USA up all night. Looking for Mr. Goodbar was not.
Yeah, that's for the best.
Yeah. One of my favorite Calling Camp lines is art fart.
She wears this outfit at one point when they're in the shopping mall.
Oh my God.
It is a matching vest and culottes outfit. Now I think culottes are still a thing, but they were very big thing in the 80s. Not often with women in their 30s. I remember wearing culottes, but I was about 10 when this movie came out. Mm-hmm. She looks like a member of the Babysitters Club.
And she's wearing a thin tie with it, like a Billy Joel tie. She looks like she's a junior member of the Sailor Moon Cadets. It's very odd. And that hat. And then the guy at Neiman Marcus recognizes Morgan Fairchild. It's like, I watch you every night. And she goes, Well, I'm in commercials.
he's like, I try to avoid commercials. He's doing a little bit of that, yes. Kind of
well, I do declare, Miss Camp. Oh,
it's an elephant lighter. Ooh.
55 pounds made of silver. Oh boy. We are making a verbal reference to something. I don't even know that I know the full backstory.
He's on the Jack Benny show. Okay. Also, he was parodied on the Simpsons
constantly.
He's just known as the yes guy. Yes. Yeah. And every single person has responded to someone saying their name at some point exactly in that way. And it's wonderful to me that nobody knows what is, if you're under 50, you barely know what it's from.
Yeah. I just know.
I thought it was that guy for a second. I was like, oh, how the mighty have fallen. And then I looked it up and it was not that guy.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. Oh, you giving me tears here.
The Teddy budget on this movie must have been astronomical. They're not even nightgowns. They're straight up teddies. It's just,
oh yeah, she's just kind of hanging around the house, and again, this was a big thing in 80s and 90s movies. Just a woman home alone is just going to bring out her best undies and just to sit around the house by herself.
I don't think she has bad undies. I think she is a person who is perennially in the most beautiful lingerie available commercially. If not, if it isn't like her facials shipped to her directly to her house. Oh my God. There are two things this movie has too much of: sweating and ferns.
Yes.
People do not need ferns in their fucking bathtub. Okay. You just don't need it. Thank you very much. And she's like spraying it with this Schwitzer when she comes into the room. I really thought for a good hot minute that she lived in the same condo that's in Death Spa.
She might have. I mean,
well, there's in Death Spa, they have that crazy triangle sort of plant array that's by the stairs, and she has it in this thing too. I just think it was terrible 80s architecture because there's an equal abuse of glass brick in both movies.
Oh yeah, that was definitely every house in every 80s movie was like a dentist's office.
There's three different members only jackets on display.
Oh yeah, there's like one that kind of almost like Derek looks like he's wearing the one's almost gold lame at one point. Which is just the thing you want to wear when you're skulking around your the person your stalking's workplace.
I've been told by media that it's very sexy for a woman to be in a bathtub and rub her legs. But I also don't think it's anything that has ever happened in reality. Like you're in a bathtub, you're just like, hey, I'm in a bathtub. I'm just going to soak this up. You're not like, all right, let's do some Pilates while we're here.
Yeah, I'm just going to
engage my core.
Yeah, I'm just it's more like I'm just going to lay here and think about things and read my book. Yeah, it's definitely what she does when she's by herself is a very male. Well, this is clearly what women do when they're by themselves. Yeah. They don't take their makeup off before they go to bed.
Yeah, there's not a male involved. There's not a female involved in any creative decision in this.
Yeah, they just idly sit around their house in lingerie.
From I need to buy something to make myself feel better to the constant lingerie wear.
And yet at one point, like she's in the hot tub and gets out to answer the phone. She's naked. She puts a robe on to answer her phone. Which just doesn't really make any sense to me. I mean, you're being modest? Okay.
All right. Speaking of the hot tub, let's go back to that hot tub sex machine. Because what do you think that ADR session was like? Like brought in Michael Sheridan. All right, this is good moaning, great moaning, sad moaning,
dead moaning.
Dead moaning. All right. Now, please beg him not to come and just fall limp like a noodle. Oh, no, he did. Oh, turns out he's dead. Okay, we got it.
I'm just thinking about that scene. I'm thinking about like the scene in Airplane when he flashes back to when they first meet and they're in the club and she's dancing with the guy and he gets stabbed in the back and he's kind of like flailing his arms around and she's like just imitating because she thinks he's dancing and he's like pointing to the knife in his back.
I'm doing it in my chair. No one can see this because this is a podcast. People can't.
I'm imagining it though, and it's bringing me so much joy.
I know. Oh my God. Another insane, fantastical moment here in this movie is when Andrew Stevens, having killed Michael Sheridan, drags his dead body up a hillside and then magically has a shovel at the ready to bury him in this rocky hillside. That is not something you can do in Los Angeles, people. That is rock underneath there. You got to take him somewhere else, man.
Well, this whole sequence doesn't make sense. For one thing, it's, after Michael Sheridan's character is killed off, there's still another 25 minutes left in this movie,
I know.
Which is shocking. Even after she chases after him with a shotgun, he leaves, and then there's still another 15 minutes.
Everything that happens could have been compacted to, you have the cop up, come to the house. You have the assistant come to the house. And that all happens. And then he's driven so crazy by it that then he goes down to her house and he kills Michael Sheridan. And she witnesses it, the burial thing, and then he goes back and then she goes, come back down, and he comes back, and it just would have happened faster.
Well, I mean, none of how that plays out makes any sense.
No.
Because he just assumes that she's going to sit there and patiently wait for him to come back after he has, dragged her boyfriend away to bury him. Now, how long could that have taken? I mean, it takes a while to dig a hole, to bury a human body in.
Yes.
And indeed, she just sits there and wait for him.
Hours have passed. Hours, if not a good all night. It's probably 5:30 in the morning by the time he shows back up.
Yeah, he's not concerned that she's going to call the police. He's not concerned that she's going to leave.
Well, he knows that all the police have gone on vacation and they've left the answering machine on.
Yeah, but he somehow, has bet on the idea that she's not going to try to escape, which she doesn't inexplicably.
Yeah. He also, there's a knife problem in this movie. First of all, the knife he uses to kill Michael Sheridan is what they've been using to cut cheese. Gross.
Secondly, he wipes it down before he has his apple.
Then he wipes it down and eats a fucking apple with it. Like, you know where that's been. It was sticking in his back when you dragged him up a hillside. It's going to take more than just a quick towel wipe to really make that let's cut into this apple and eat it worthy.
I don't think I even realized initially that he went back to his own house and just was waiting for her to call him. He's got that Jason Voorhees sort of extrasensory perception where he just kind of senses that she's going to suddenly abruptly change her mind and want him to come back.
Yeah, or it's the secret. He's just put it out into the universe and it just happens to come true. I'm not sure.
I mean, I would love to see a version where it's like daylight and he's like, huh, like he just wakes up and looks at his phone like, she hasn't called me.
Huh. I would have thought that had done it. I know I'd love anyone who killed my paramour in the hot tub and buried his body.
It's like, wow, he really loves me.
Oh, he bought her a ring, and I don't think that ring is going to impress her.
No.
It's a little basic.
The little chintzy things remember jewelry box.
Yeah, the little fucking princess.
This could be.
Come on.
This can be our song.
Oh, okay.
And I love the symbolism that it's heart shaped, and that she knocks it out of his hand and it breaks. That's like God. This is some powerful fucking screenwriting. If you slow the film down, you can see the exact moment she tears his heart out of his body.
Bloop, bloop, bloop. Yep, right there. More Simpsons references.
We got them all.
Oh man. The other thing is when they have this final knockdown drag out in her bedroom, he fumbles with his belt for what feels like hours, and then she has to get involved, and she's trying to take off his belt. Is this belt Fort Knox? Like, it's still made of leather, right? It's not. There's not a padlock on the motherfucker.
Well, he's got like this. He's got like this giant novelty belt buckle that says gas, grass, or ass, no rise or free.
just
keep on trucking.
On it. Oh boy.
We're gonna need that 18+ rating back on Patreon.
Yeah, we got rid of it too fast. Because I just don't know how you can talk about this and not have it be filthy.
No, you can't. You can't.
It's a filthy movie.
Yeah, it's filthy for the soul. I mean, it's not. And it sounds bizarre to say, like. It's trying to be cute with how naked she gets, she's a little side boob, a little glimpse. She's not as naked as you think she would be. You think she would be in this,
right? Yeah.
And so, and I think they're genuinely thinking that they're making a classy erotic thriller.
Yes, as if it is some sort of reverse Rear Window. They've gotten a classic Hitchcock blonde. And now it's the reverse of that movie somehow. I think they're really clever.
They're implying that they're both masturbating at some point, but it just they both get interrupted before the moment of triumph. I mean, it's just it's a very it's a cock tease. It's trying to be sexier than it actually is, and it's surprisingly boring in places.
Yes, but when it's crazy, I think it's delightful. Like that hot tub murder scene that should be taught in film school.
Oh yeah, it's great because it requires so much suspension of disbelief.
Yeah,
that I mean. It's like that Twitter meme of, hey, sex is great and all, but, hey, sex is great and all, but have you ever, been so into it that you did not notice someone standing directly behind you with a knife?
It's the sound of the hot tub. It just overcomes your senses. And the chlorine is the other thing, is you get a little wiggy, and then the heat gets to your brain. But every time they're in that final sequence in her bedroom, he slaps her, and then she smacks him and then straight up fucking punches him. And I cackle every time. It is fucking delightful when it happens.
Well, it's because they it's almost like and I keep saying it's like a shitty version of this. It's like this whole ending sequence is like a shitty version of Reagan and Father Karras fighting at the end of The Exorcist, where they keep changing roles.
Right.
Where Andrew Stevens is the predator. Now she's the predator. Now he's back to being the predator again. Now she's the predator again.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly her thought process is in that sequence, but
it's like she knew. It's like she knew he was impotent, which again, like she could tell him, all these filthy things to do, and he wouldn't do it because he can't.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so what did you expect him to do? He's just gonna, oh, sorry, and just, wander, walk.
I guess you're right. I guess maybe you should go home. Sorry about I killed your boyfriend.
I'll just walk myself down. Don't worry, I'll walk myself to the police station.
Sorry, everybody. Sorry, I wasted your time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure of the mindset here of anybody's behavior, except that it anticipates things that could not possibly be anticipated.
Yeah. And yet I find those moments when it reaches those high points to be very delightful, but you're wading through a bunch of BS to get to it. I wished if you took out a good 15, 20 minutes of this, it would really clip along.
Well, they try to humanize him a little bit at the beginning. He's nice to this girl who works for him, who obviously is madly in love with him for some reason other than,
and who wouldn't,
because
he's so emotionally available,
and he's just such a good looking guy, and that's about it. You know, I mean, so they try to make him seem like, kind of Jekyll and Hyde thing until he just goes full Hyde after a while. And and you've got this, somehow the assistant who's in love with him, finds out about, his obsession. Don't ask me how. I don't know. He has the script declared it. And then he just goes, I don't want your help. And, like, for some reason, I had a Mandela effect moment where I misremembered. I thought he had killed Colleen Camp's character, but he does not. I might be thinking of another. She just kind of disappeared at some point, but I might be thinking of another stalker movie or I've seen a lot of them. It's a genre I enjoy because it is 99% garbage.
Yes, and I don't know that we're going to find a lot of diamonds in this very heavy rough.
I mean, if you're pressing the genre to include like Misery, then yeah, the whole obsessed fan thing, then yeah. But generally speaking, it's very sleazy.
Yeah,
it tries to have its cake and eat it too by making the protagonist sympathetic, but also showing them naked whenever possible.
And it would be if you want a great thriller that happens to be that might qualify under the erotic thriller thing, you just go straight to Body Heat.
Right, exactly.
Like, it's as good as it's ever going to get. And everything else is just going to be people trying to do something, understanding that it's exploitative, but more often than not being able to pull the trigger on being fully exploitative. Therefore, just making it a weird, empty exercise in which we get to make fun of the, particulars.
Well, yeah, and again, there's nothing more unsexy than something trying to be sexy.
Yeah.
And this movie is trying to be sexy in certain scenes, and it doesn't, like, there's this scene in which he's watching her take a bath, and it is implying she's about to just rub one out because as one does when they're frightened by a stalker that's already been in your house.
Yeah.
And it is in your house now, but you don't notice this this tacky ass music box sitting on your vanity until it's too late. And and he's like all like rubbing himself and running the hand down his chest. And I'm like,
a lot of lip touching.
It's like, no one is watching you. Who are you performing for?
Yeah.
They are both acting like they know they're being watched. And it's like, that's not, I don't think that's what people do when they're having alone time. They just,
That's why I think it would have been better if that had actually been entirely in his head, as opposed to.
No, it's actually happening.
Real.
But like he's like playing it up, like biting his lip and slowly, seriously unbuttoning his shirt like he's a Chippendales dancer, and it's like, dude, no one's watching you. And also, do you
that she is?
It's like, do you plan on jizzing in her closet? I mean, what is your end game in this?
I have a feeling that his jizz has seen that closet already. I don't think
that's probably true. Yeah. There's been a lot of trips to the local dry cleaner with her arguing with the dry cleaner about, what is this? Why can't you get this out of my clothes?
What is happening here? These are some of my finest teddies. What is going on? There's no better way to end an episode of Kill by Kill than talking about how hard it is to get jizz out of your clothes. So there's no way you can top it. So would you recommend people watch The Seduction?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Let me cough up this hairball. And,
Absolutely.
I mean, it gets a little rapey towards the end. I mean, he doesn't. It's not. What's the word I'm thinking of? It's not to completion because apparently he cannot. And I don't know if you're supposed to feel sorry for him at that point, or if it's. I don't know what you're supposed to walk away from with that. But yeah, it gets a little rapey, but I think it's funny. I mean, there's definitely you could do a lot of like riff track style riffing on it.
If you watched it with a group,
yeah,
and understand that there's, that there's allusion to, stalking and sexual assault. You don't want to spring this on anyone, but if you watched it with a group, it's probably going to be a lot more fun than you watching it alone.
And I mean, it's satisfying in the fact that he, basically gets almost blown in half by a shotgun at the end.
By someone else, which really takes the oomph out of the movie for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, but also it means that Morgan Fairchild doesn't get to be a murderer.
But it's okay for her to be a murderer at that point. He's killed her lover in front of her and buried her behind her house. Like, come on. I don't know what it's just, it doesn't bring the catharsis that you want in this setup. It's sort of like, oh, she never had any power and she never will. It's kind of what it comes down to. And that's a bit of a bummer, but it's so goofy in parts and so dumb when it thinks it's smart that, yeah, in a group, I think it'd be a bit more of a hoot.
Yeah, it definitely thinks it's classier than it is, but it's not as sleazy as you might expect either. If that makes any sense.
For a movie that good 40% of it takes place near, at, or in a pool is
they paid to use that pool. By God, they were going to get every penny's worth out of it.
Every cent out of that pool that they possibly can, that house they rented in Malibu. So yeah, that pretty much does it for this. Thank you ever so much to all of our Patreon supporters. Your money is desperately needed to keep the podcast going because it's not free to put this show up. There's a lot of things that need to be paid for. I had
to pay to rent the Seduction.
I own a copy of the Seduction. Thank you to the people of our Patreon group for that, because I don't know how I would explain that to the wife otherwise. She would not support it. I don't think Becky would like this movie, and I don't think she would like how much I enjoy how stupid it is either. Would you find that tedious? But it's absolutely true. We really appreciate your support, patrons, small and large. It's very, we don't know what's going to come up next month. That'll be
that's going to be another, you pick the movie.
Yes. So
if you want to give us another erotic thriller, please do.
Yes. We're all up for it. It does not necessarily have to be in our specific genre. We have some parameters, but yeah, mix it up. As long as there's some death involved, and that's like every other movie, it's good. We can talk about it, y'all.
Exactly.
Is it? Do you know something as mystifying as The Visitor? Is there anything as mystifying as The Visitor? We may never know. But,
we are up for the challenge of being given something more mystifying than The Visitor.
I don't know that thing exists. But,
I mean, the Lighthouse was one of my favorite movies of 2019. I'm ready. Just bring it on. Bring the weirdness on.
Talk about not being able to get the semen stains out.
That was a lot. There's a lot of successful masturbating in that movie.
Oh yeah, that self-abuse in the woodshed. It happens throughout. So that just about does it. So until next month, and of course on the main